Hi and welcome back to another episode of Touring with Trent. Decided to do something a little bit different today. We're going to do a Q&A. Obviously I get lots of questions every day, and so I decided I'd make a video about that just to give people a bit more of an insight and obviously hopefully answer some of the questions that you may have. I put it out on my Instagram over the last 24 hours if anybody did have any questions that they would like me to answer. So I've been inundated with them, so there's literally pages and pages, so thank you to everybody that made the effort and asked the question. I've had a really quick run through of these questions, haven't gone into them too much, just want to make sure there wasn't anything ridiculous on there, but there's actually a really good mix of stuff about the real estate industry obviously, and then me personally, so hopefully you'll enjoy it, and yeah, if we get a good response we'll happily do this again. So firstly, the first question we got was, how do you think the COVID-19 pandemic will affect the real estate industry? Obviously that's the current topic on everybody's lips. I think most people are worried that it's going to change the prices. At this point in time we haven't seen that at all. There's probably been a few less people decide to go to the market, just unsure of how it's going to pan out and things like that. But we found that those people who have decided to go to the market, they've been in a really good position where we've been able to sell them still quite quickly to a lot of them, and obviously get the good price that they deserve. If anything, there's probably more buyer inquiry at the moment, and I think that's because there is obviously less houses, so the ones that have decided to go to the market, we are getting inundated with inquiry on those, so that's been a really good thing. Open houses have just gone back Saturday, just gone. They've obviously upped the numbers now, so we can now have 10 people to an open at any given time as of this Saturday. So I think once everything returns to normal, I think we're just starting to hit our straps as before the virus kind of started, so hopefully it'll just go back to normal and continue to be bigger and better. Second question, do appraisals and valuations cost money? So short answer is no. So appraisals from a real estate agent don't cost money. I'm more than happy to do them for you. A valuation, that may cost you money if you go to a registered valuer, but if you want an appraisal or my opinion on the price or whatnot of a particular property, no, that won't actually cost you. Is my real name Quinton Cook? If you had asked me this probably 2 weeks ago, I would have had no idea who you were talking about, but recently some friends that I have suggested that I check out a show called Lunatics, and he happens to be on there, and no, my real name isn't Quinton Cook, and I can't play any of that footage because it's pretty atrocious, but yeah, no, that's definitely not my real name. So worst house I've ever been in, that's probably the house that's been on my previous YouTube video, so the repossessed house. I think it's the second video that I have. Was a house out at Gracemere, car body in the front yard, just absolutely just rubbish throughout, and the pool had popped out of the backyard. If you want to see the full video of that, and then we obviously go on to auction it as well, so check back on the previous video and you'll be able to check that out and see for yourself just how bad it really was. Most unusual property I've ever listed or sold? Had a couple actually, but probably the one that springs to mind first, I had a church on Upper Dawson Road. So it was a church, and then it also had 10 units that were at the back of it as well. So that was probably the most unusual type of property. As it's turned out over the years, I've actually ended up selling 3 churches. So yeah, that's probably a little bit unusual, a little bit out of the ordinary. I actually really enjoy that type of stuff, something that's a bit different, something that's a bit unique, and just to see what people's thoughts are and what they plan on doing with it and things like that. So yeah, that's probably the most unusual. Do I have any hidden talents? Probably the only hidden talent that I really have that maybe people don't know, but you could pretty much just about play any song and I would be able to sing the lyrics. Not sing them well, but I would know the lyrics at least, so that's probably my hidden talent. How long have you been in real estate for? So I've been in real estate nearly 16 years. I started when I was 18. That definitely wasn't the plan when I first got into it. At that point in time, I didn't really know what I was going to do, but as it's turned out, it's been a really good career move for me. I really enjoy it. I love being out and about. I love meeting new people. So yeah, nearly 16 years. You've recently converted from Ray White to LJ Hooker. What's the difference? So that's a really good question, actually. So I suppose the biggest difference is we find that LJ Hooker just offer more. So on both sides of the sale. So from a seller's perspective, we have more options that are available to obviously promote their property out to a wider audience. Obviously, the more people that can see it, the better chance are we have of finding that one buyer or hopefully several buyers, and then extracting that best price. From a buyer's perspective, again, because it's put out there where everyone is able to see it, and it's in every avenue possible, that we know that, yeah, if you're looking for a property, you will be able to find it, and it could be the one that you're looking for. From my perspective, being on the back end side of things, everything's just a lot more streamlined. So it's a couple of clicks and most things are done. So yeah, but I think the main thing is that it just offers more for our clients, which I think is just a fantastic thing. So how many auctions have you called? I don't actually keep count of this, but it would be probably somewhere, I'd imagine, around that probably 70 or 80 mark now. I've done it for quite a few years. It's something that I really enjoy. Probably don't get to do it as often as I would like, but yeah, it's probably around 70 or 80, I would imagine. What's the best part about calling the auctions? I just like the whole part of it, to be honest. I like the theatre of it. It's obviously gets quite exciting when there's multiple people bidding and things like that as well. So yeah, I just like the theatre of it, and it's obviously a really good opportunity to extract the best possible price for people when we sell their property. So that's always good. Again, if the auction doesn't go to plan and we don't happen to sell it on the day, we usually find that the auction process still enables us to sell the property quite quickly. So typically it's sold within a couple of weeks after. So auction as opposed to private treaty can obviously was just something that's listed with a price, can sit there for a long period of time, whereas we find the auctions tend to generate lots of inquiry and get a faster result, if anything. What's the worst part about calling auctions? Probably the worst part, and it's probably the only bad bit about the whole thing, is when it's like 38 degrees on a Saturday and I'm standing out the front in a suit and tie and sweating like mad. Usually the buyers take up all the shade and they disperse themselves around the property or the front yard or wherever we happen to have it. So the only place left for me is to stand out in the sun. So that's probably the worst part. If you weren't a real estate agent, what would you be? Can be anything. Oh, it's probably a number of things, actually. I'd really like to be a singer. I know that's a bit strange, but yeah, that would be pretty cool. I would also, I love to surf. I don't do enough of it, but I'd love to be a professional surfer. I think that would be pretty cool too. Or even a Formula One driver. I think that would be pretty cool. You're stuck on a deserted island, you can only have 3 things. What would they be? Assuming that's 3 items. 3 items would be a hammock and a surfboard, and then maybe like YouTube or something like that, something to keep me entertained at night when there's no surf to be had. Favorite item of clothing, that's really simple. I have a brown leather jacket that I bought from Politics a few years ago. So that's definitely my favorite piece of clothing. Favorite co-worker, I'm definitely not answering that, and I know exactly who sent that through. And yes, we're just going to leave that there. What would your dream car be? That would be a Bentley Continental GT in that pearly white colour. That would definitely be my dream car. Is newspaper advertising still worthwhile? Absolutely. So it's obviously all different avenues of marketing that we have available to us, and there's obviously people that look at one and don't look at the other, and there's people that are always going to look at both as well. So I still think the bully and the newspaper are a great tool. Obviously the open houses and stuff are all loaded in there as well, and there'll always be people that will read the newspaper that won't necessarily look on the internet. And then obviously you'll have people that will be vice versa as well. So I think to extract the best possible price, and we know that at the end of the day, when you get an offer, it is the best price. If we've exhausted all avenues and that's still the best offer that's out there, well, we know that we haven't left a stone unturned, and that's probably the deal that you should take. So, do you like making these videos? Yeah, I do actually. So it's just something a bit different. Hopefully this gives a bit more of an insight as to me on the other side. That's when I'm not the real estate person, what I'm a bit more like behind the scenes. But yeah, I do definitely like making these videos. What's a typical day look like for me? It's probably no such thing as a typical day, and that's probably one of the things that really attracts me to this industry. Nothing's ever the same. So Obviously we have from week to week, we have certain things like every Thursday we do a stock run, so we go and look at all the new listings that we've had for that kind of week, but there's not a typical day. But in a nutshell, a typical day for me would be some type of listing or appraisal. Ideally there'd be 2 or 3 buyer inspections at different properties. There'd be a large chunk of that will be phone calls, so whether they be prospecting phone calls to try and find new leads, or touching base with my sellers. So that's something that I do quite often. I'd probably get in touch with them, worst case, every sort of 2 or 3 days, even if there's nothing to report. I don't know how these people do it when they list 40, 50, 60 listings. It's not physically possible to service it and do a good job, so I only take on that smaller number, but that's one thing that my sellers will never have to worry or wonder where I'm at with everything. They'll always be the first to know. So yeah, so that's probably a typical day. How many hours a week do you work? Again, that varies. And I'm one of those people that if there's work there to be done, I'll get stuck in and do it. So it could be anywhere from probably 50 hours to 80 hours, depending on how busy it is. A lot of the business that we do is after hours, when husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff are all together. So yeah, so it can run into the night, and obviously if you've got a deal going, well, yeah, we won't sleep until we get that done. So yeah, so it does vary. Are you looking for more sales staff? Absolutely. So yeah, if you're interested and you think you might like to get into the industry, definitely get in touch with me. Favorite coffee? That would be a skinny flat white with 2 sweetener. How many times a day does your phone ring? Oh, again, that varies, but I'd say that's probably anywhere between 30 and 50 times a day. Who do you work for, buyer or the seller? I know the seller pays the commission at the end of the day, but we work for the buyer and the seller, and I'm just there to work the deal. So if you're a buyer and you want to buy something, well, I'm more than happy to facilitate that. And if you're a seller, we'll do everything in my power to get it sold for you for the best possible price in the shortest possible time. So, best piece of advice you've received? Probably just follow up. So that's a lot of my business is based around that. So probably get to borderline stalkerish at sometimes, I reckon, when people have obviously looked at stuff and I need to follow up, or they're thinking of selling. We're always trying to be proactive and help them out and keep in touch and go from there. So that's probably the best piece of advice. Favorite quote? If you want to be the best, you just have to work the hardest. And again, that comes back to how many hours in a day do I work and whatnot. So if it's there, I'll be working. So yeah, that's probably my favorite quote. What lengths would you go to make a sale? Obviously ethical lengths, by all means, but I suppose you mean like in relation to promotion and stuff like that. Again, I'll pretty much do anything. Recently there was a house I sort of thought it looked a bit like an old ranch, so we organised to have a horse come, and we made a video and things like that. So yeah, if there's an opportunity there that I see that's a good way for promotion and things like that, yeah, I'll pretty much nearly go to any length to help make a sale. How has real estate changed since you started? It's changed dramatically, to be honest with you. Obviously things around social media and stuff like that have made a huge difference, but if there's one piece of advice I would give myself, it would be to start a database and just cultivate that over the years. Majority of my business now comes from that database, and then obviously referral system as well. What advice would you give yourself compared to when you started? Well, I think I just answered that, but yeah, definitely the database. How long did it take you to sell your first house? I actually got really lucky. I come into the market at a good time, so I actually sold my first house in my first week. Went on to then sell 6 other houses in the first 6 weeks, so it was a pretty good start to my career there. Cheapest probably I've ever sold. It was a block of land a couple of years ago now. It sold for $25,000, tiny little block of land down near the river, completely filled with water. So yeah, $25,000. Do you like driving around all day? To be completely honest with you, my answer is no. I actually don't like driving. If I could get out of it, I'd much prefer that. And if there's a chance that I have to go somewhere with somebody else, I'll definitely always look to make them drive. But no, I actually don't like driving, but I like to be out of the office, and being out of the office means I'm busy. and busy usually means that we're getting deals done. So yeah. What do I do for fun? I like to spend time with friends and family, obviously, and I don't do enough of it, but I also like to surf, so that's definitely what I do for fun. Favourite holiday destination? Just recently went to Bali, thought that was pretty cool, so at the moment that's high up there. 3 people you'd invite to dinner, they have to be living. Good question. I think 3 people would be, number 1 would be Steve Cook. He's a fitness personality, just seems like a good dude. Anthony Joshua, the current world heavyweight boxing champ. I'd love to pick his brain, and again, he just seems like a really good dude. And then someone like Daniel Ricciardo, he just seems like he's just hilarious. And I think the banter between the group would be pretty good, so I reckon they'd be the 3 that I'd like to invite to dinner. How's the collarbone healing? For those of you that don't know, I have recently broken my collarbone. It's been about 7 weeks now. It is healing. I got pretty good movement in it, but it is a slow process. And yeah, do you take your own property photos? Definitely not. We pay a professional photographer to do that. It's something that's really important, so we definitely want to make sure that we do the right thing there. So yeah, no, we get a professional photographer for that. Are 4 sale signs worth having? Again, yes. Again, you just don't know where your buyer's going to come from, so yeah, if we'll try and exhaust every avenue, so if that includes a sign, yeah, that's definitely worth your while. Where do most of your buyers come from? At the moment, most of the buyers we're finding are local people. However, in saying that, I think as the market started to change a little bit, we started to see a few investors come back into it from down south and places like that. So, but at the moment, most of the buyers are local people. I want to sell my house, can you do it for me? I actually saw this earlier, I've already contacted you, absolutely I can do it for you. So yeah, whenever you get my voicemail, please call me back and we'll organise that for you. Do you sell anywhere in Rockhampton? Absolutely. Most houses you've sold in one street. Most houses at any one time. I had 4 in Fairfield Avenue a few years ago, so that's probably the most I've had at any one time. But as for the amount of houses in one particular street, yeah, I'm not really sure. Never really thought of it, to be honest. But yeah, 4 at one time, that's probably got to be a bit of a record. Do you do verbal offers or do they all go to contract? Look, most of the time, where possible, we'll definitely go to contract. However, there's obviously circumstances where it doesn't go that way and things like that. Or if you're offering something that is substantially less, and when I say substantially, I'm talking like 50,000 plus away from the list price, then we might not go there initially, but obviously we will end up there. So that's how that works. I've never bought a home before. What do I do? Really good question. First thing I'd suggest you do is go and see a bank or a financier of some description and work out what exactly it is that you can afford. There would be nothing worse than finding a house that you really liked, possibly even putting it down on contract, and then finding out that you could never afford it in the first place. So definitely go to the bank first or whatnot, and suss that out. The other thing I do, get the newspaper, look on the internet, drive around the areas that you like, work out what you want, and obviously give me a call. And I'll be more than happy to find you something that you will like. What are the main reasons a house doesn't sell? There's probably 3 reasons that really spring to mind why a house doesn't sell. First one's the agent. Again, I touched on it earlier. I think if they've got too many listings, they just end up chasing their tail and they probably don't put the time and effort in that they should. The second one would be the price. Obviously, if there is a price on it and it is too high, that will definitely be a reason why it wouldn't sell. And the third one is it probably just hasn't been marketed correctly. So whether it's you've gone down the wrong avenue or you haven't done enough of it or whatever it happens to be, but yeah, they're probably the 3 reasons why a house doesn't sell. Do you ever sell houses above the reserve at auction like they do on TV? The answer is yes. It definitely does happen. So it happens more often than you would think, to be completely honest with you. I know that they do advertise what the reserve was and stuff on those things on TV, and that's obviously something that we're not allowed to do, so people won't know that we've gone over the reserve. However, in saying that, yeah, it does happen quite often, so that's really good. Do you prefer to text or call clients? Look, it really depends on the person and their availability. For me personally, if there's an opportunity that I can make that phone call, I'd rather nut that out over a 1 to 2 minute phone call rather than 7, 8, 10 text messages back and forth. But look, it varies on the person and whatnot, and it depends on what type of communication that they would like, and also what I'm getting in touch about. Like if it's something that doesn't necessarily need a response, like I'm confirming an appointment or something like that, well yeah, text might be fine. But obviously if I want to try and relay some feedback and things like that, phone call definitely be my option. Can I get one of those giant doorbells? Absolutely. Buy a house from me, I'll make sure you get a doorbell. So that's pretty much everything. I hope that answers your questions. If you like this, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you have any other questions, please feel free to get in touch. My phone number is attached. If I can help you in any other way, shape or form, please do that. And if this, as I said before, if this gets enough likes, we'll more than happily do another one. So thanks again for watching, and we'll chat to you again soon.